Welcome, everyone. Today, we're going to cut through all the noise and get right to the core of two of the biggest database titans out there, Oracle and SQL Server. And look, we're not just going to compare a list of features. Nope, we're going deep to uncover the one single fundamental design choice that really dictates everything about how they work.
So what is the real difference? I mean, it's a question that can trip up even seasoned developers. But it turns out there's one core architectural idea that explains pretty much everything else. And once you get it, you're going to see these two databases in a completely new light.
And here it is. This single sentence is the key to everything. I kind of call this the interview closer line because it just cuts right to the heart of the matter. So now we're going to spend the rest of their time together proving exactly why this is true and, more importantly, what it means in the real world.
Okay, so the very first place this big philosophical divide shows up is in memory management. It's the most important one, really. This single distinction pretty much sets the stage for everything else we're about to cover.
This visual just gets right to the point, doesn't it? On the left, you've got Oracle, drawing this hard line in its memory, a shared area for everybody, and then a private, totally dedicated area for each connection. And then on the right, you have SQL Server, which just throws everything into one giant unified memory pool that all the connections have to share.
So let's break down Oracle's side first. You've got the SGA, the System Global Area. Think of it like the communal town square. It's where all the shared resources live. You know, the data blocks everyone needs to get to, the query plans that can be reused. It's really the memory for the entire instance itself.
And then you have the PGA, the Program Global Area, which is the complete opposite. Think of this as your own private office. When you connect to Oracle, you literally get your very own slice of memory to do your work, like, say, sorting a massive data set, and absolutely no one else can touch it. It's all yours.
Now, what's really fascinating here is that even with these wildly different architectures, the fundamental jobs they have to do are identical. Both systems need a cache for data, right? A cache for query plans, and a buffer for transaction logs. They just organize all these pieces in completely different ways, sticking to their core philosophies.
In this design choice, it directly impacts a DBA's daily life. I mean, it really does. If you're an Oracle DBA, you are constantly on the lookout for a single rogue session that's just eating up way too much private PGA memory. But if you're a SQL Server DBA, your biggest concern is making sure the database's single massive memory pool doesn't end up starving the entire operating system. Two very different problems. Now, that memory model isn't some kind of accident. It's a direct result of how each database handles you, the user, when you connect. And that brings us to the second key difference. We're talking processes versus threads. To make this super easy to visualize, just picture Oracle as a really fancy restaurant. When you, the customer, sit down at a table, they assign you a personal waiter who serves only you for your entire meal. And that's exactly how Oracle's dedicated server model works. A client connects, and boom, the database spawns a brand new operating system process just for that one connection. And that process is what gets its own private PGA memory to work with. It's a clean one-to-one relationship. SQL Server, on the other hand, is just fundamentally different. It's less like that fancy restaurant and way more like a busy coffee shop, right? There's no dedicated barista for each customer. Instead, you've got this team of baristas working together, just grabbing the next order from the queue. And this is SQL Server's thread-based model. It maintains a pool of these little worker threads, and these threads are shared by everyone. They pick up tasks from any connected client, they execute them, and then they go right back into the pool ready for the next request. It's a many-to-many relationship, and they're all sharing that one unified memory pool we talked about. So this core philosophy of segregation versus unification, it doesn't just stop at memory and processes. Oh no. It goes all the way down to how data is physically organized on the disk, especially for those messy but absolutely critical jobs like temporary work and transaction rollbacks. True to its nature, Oracle insists on keeping things separate. So when it needs to do a big sort operation or it needs to keep old versions of data for a transaction rollback, it doesn't just dump that stuff anywhere. It has specialized, dedicated locations for that. And these are the temp and undo table spaces. The temp is like the scratch pad for queries that are doing some heavy lifting. And undo, well, undo is the time machine. It holds on to the old data so you can roll back a change, or so other users can see a consistent version of the data while you're busy editing it. Two very distinct jobs, two very distinct places. Okay, so that's the Oracle way. Segregated, specialized. Which of course begs the question, where does SQL Server, with its whole unified philosophy, handle all of this stuff? And the answer is just perfectly consistent with its entire design. It all gets funneled into one single, hard-working database called TempDB. The version store for rollbacks, the temporary tables, all that sorting space, it all lives together inside TempDB. It's a perfect mirror of its unified memory and thread architecture.
Okay, so let's bring it all back together. We've looked at memory, we've looked at processes, and we've looked at storage. And in every single case, we've seen the exact same philosophical pattern play out, again and again.
And here we are, right back where we started. But now, this sentence, it isn't just a claim we made at the beginning. It's a conclusion we've actually proven. Oracle isolates and separates resources for every single session. SQL Server pools and shares resources for all sessions. At the end of the day, this is the fundamental difference.
Look, this isn't just some academic exercise. Understanding this core difference explains everything. It explains why Oracle's resource management can feel so granular and powerful, and also why SQL Server can often seem way simpler to configure right out of the box. This core philosophy dictates exactly how you're going to tune and troubleshoot each system.
And all of this leaves us with one final question. Because there's no single right answer here, just different philosophies with different trade-offs. So knowing this deep architectural divide, the isolated specialist versus the unified generalist, which one would you choose to build your next critical application on? Something to think about. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive.